Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miriam. If this is the first time you're coming on here. So in today's video, I have Grace on the channel, and Grace is a product designer. Okay, I won't go into the introduction. I'll just let her introduce herself. And we're going to be answering some FAQs about UX design, UI design, and how to become a UI designer and all of that stuff. So make sure you stay tuned to the end because we have something for you at the end. Grace, go on.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace. I'm a product designer based in Toronto, Canada. For this video, I think we'll be using UI UX design and product design interchangeably. So if you hear me say product design, I mean UI UX design. So please don't get confused. And in terms of like my introduction, I would say that my path into product design is non-traditional, like most other people, to be honest. So I started out, I would say my undergraduate was in international studies and diplomacy, and I had a master's from the University of Birmingham, the UK, in international political economy, so the same space, and moved back to Nigeria, decided to take up a lecturing job, lectured for 4 years in the same field. And after that, I decided I wanted to do something that was more creative because I'm a more artistic or creative person. And I decided to pursue my passion for fashion. And I did fashion design as an entrepreneur for 7 years. And after that, during the COVID, I wanted something different. So I was itching for something more. And my sister, who is a product manager, told me about product design. I'm like, okay, what's that? And I began my investigation to understand what it's about. And interestingly enough, I found that I was already doing a bit of that in my day-to-day because I had I was working with some engineers or a company that was majorly engineering led to develop my website. And when I saw what they put out, I was like, no, this isn't good enough. This doesn't solve the problem for my particular business because my business model was a bit peculiar. And the project didn't end well, but I would say that kind of gave me an idea that, oh, I was actually passionate about product design when I eventually discovered what it was, and it kind of validated me in terms of, okay, you already did this in the past without even knowing what it was. So now you should go put your feet down and then just get it done. So I took some boot camps, did a lot of self-learning, did the Google UX course, and I was fortunate enough to get an internship at an agency back in Nigeria, because then I was back in Nigeria. And I would say the rest is history, as they would say. So that was like the starting for me. And now actually, now I moved to Canada, I got a job. Now I work at Yelp as a product designer. So it's been an amazing journey so far.
Wow, such an interesting journey. And it's so interesting because I feel like we have some things in common. Like I did bootcamp as well. I did the Google UX course. I said you went to University of Birmingham. I went to Aston University, which is in Birmingham as well. That's interesting. And fashion and all of that. I'm going to start. What is the role of a UX designer? How would you explain that to someone?
So I'll start by explaining what UX design is. So if anyone doesn't understand that, so UX basically stands for user experience. And as the name implies, it basically means designing an experience for a user. In this case, when we say UX design, we actually mean digital product, the design of digital products. So for example, when you open your phone, there are too many applications these days. So you have your fitness app, you have your banking app, you have your health, maybe a meal plan app, too many apps. All those applications are designed by a user experience designer. So that's what a UX designer does. And in terms of that, like our role as UX designers, what we do is look at what the user wants and then make sure that what they want or need in the product matches with the goal of the business. In this case, the company that you work, in this case, the company that I work for, and then see how to create a middle ground between users' need, because when you solve the users' needs, most times they come back to your application, and then that's how the business makes money and stays afloat. So combining business needs and users' needs into a single product that serves the purpose for our words. So yeah, that's what a user and experience designer does.
I think you explained that really well. It's basically, like I said, users' need is like priority in everything that we do. So I know you mentioned you did a boot camp and you did the Google UX course. For other people like watching, if they want to get into UX without experience, how would they get into UX design?
So the interesting thing, I would say that I'm an ambassador for UX design. The interesting thing about UX design is that literally you do not need to have a university degree. You do not need to have a HCI, human computer interaction degree, to actually pivot or start a career in UX design. Why? Because it is multidisciplinary. What that basically means is that it draws upon different disciplines. So whether it's science, arts, social science, and combines them into like what it does. So for example, imagine that you're creating a product and you studied psychology. One major thing that we do as UI UX designers is to understand the way users think. So your psychology degree doesn't go to waste, right? It comes into UX design. So imagine that you're a doctor, you have a medicine degree, right? That you can actually work as a UI UX designer within the medical industry, creating say medical apps or whatnot. So it doesn't go to waste. So that's the beauty of UI UX design. So if you do not have a degree whatsoever, you can actually start a career in UI UX design. You can literally start from whatever or with whatever you have. So you do not have the experience, but what you can leverage is your soft skill. So your soft skill is really important because I would say that's the foundation to get started. In UI UX design, some of the soft skill you need is collaboration. So which is why it's exciting, because some of these things you've done them in your, or most of them you've done in your previous work. So all the soft skill you've used there transfers into product design. So talking to people, so as a marketer, I'm sure you must have talked to people on a day-to-day basis. Your customer service role, you try to placate the end user or the customers to understand what the problem was and how you can solve it. And that's what product design is about: simplifying processes, solving the user's needs, meeting the business goals. So whatever you have done previously doesn't go to waste. If you do not have if you have some sort of experience in a different field, you can bring it into product design. If you are just starting out, then the interesting thing is that you can then take whatever you have, like the barest minimum skill, and then nurture it to become a better product designer. Of course, you need the technical skills, but to start out, the major thing is the soft skill. And I know that everyone technically has that soft skill. So at home, maybe your mom is someone who has a lot of energy, for lack of a better way to put it. You talk to her and say, okay, mom, don't be angry. You placate her, you find how to best communicate with her. You have siblings, maybe you're the eldest in the family, and then you help to manage their day-to-day lives, right? In part of UI UX design will require managing projects as well as managing people. So those things is now how you communicate it to the person recruiting you, or within in your CV, so that, or your resume as we'll call it, so that they are able to then see, okay, this person has a bit of this experience. We're able to invest in this person to kind of groom them to become what we want them to be.
That makes so much sense, and it's a good thing. Like, just to add to that, I always tell people that as a user, you've used like an app before, even opening the door where you see open, close, like you've used a product before. So you can start using that to train your mind to think like a UX designer, because every day you go on WhatsApp, you're seeing, oh, why can't I delete this? Or why can't I do this? These are the problems that UX designers solve. So that's a way to start and start getting into this space and training your mind. It's good you mentioned skills, right? Is coding necessary? This is why many people are running away from UX design, because when they hear tech, they're like, I mean, I can't code, or I don't know what I'm doing. What would you say having the knowledge of coding is important or necessary to become a UX designer?
So that's like one question that I love answering. And the reason why is, I feel like, as you mentioned, that's one of the reasons people run away from tech. They feel like tech is just like coding, or it has to do with like engineering or maybe data analysis, which requires a bit of Python and whatnot. But then you have non-technical tech roles so you can become, I won't go into what you can become aside being a UX designer, right? But UX design is a non-technical tech role. And what that basically means is that you don't need to learn how to code to become a product designer or UI UX designer. But what I tell people is, it is not a requisite to start, but sometimes having that knowledge can be an added advantage. Why?
Sure.
Because you work in a cross-functional team with engineers, PM, and then having an understanding of some of the technical constraints that they might have, and solving for it ahead of time would be something that would put you on like a higher pedestal compared to some other designers. So it's a good skill to have, but it's not compulsory.
I agree. I think the coding is going to be a skill they put under good to have or great to have skill. Like if you have it, then great, but it's not necessarily a requirement to get into UX design. Following that up, how would you describe your day to day as a UX designer?
So that's like a question that people ask, and I tell them, the first thing I tell them is no, like no one designer has like, or has exactly the same day. And even you as a UI UX designer, you typically don't have exactly the same day. So it depends on the project you're working on, the the day particularly. But I would say what a typical day in my life could look like. So on a normal day, I resume my work at 9. So I start at 9. I look through my inboxes to see if I have like new emails. So let's assume that I'm starting a new project. So I have a kickoff call with my PM to understand what exactly we're trying to solve for. Depending on the like how big the project is, we might have to do like a timeline to say, okay, we're going to work on this over this set period of time. For smaller projects, it might require lesser time, but then there's also other projects that require more visibility. So it means that approval needs to get, you need to get approval from a higher level, even though it's a small project that requires a smaller time, because maybe it's a very important flow within the product. So in that case, it means that I will need to go to say design review after I've come up with my low fidelity mockup to say, this is what we are thinking of in terms of directions, maybe direction A, B, C, and go to that meeting, we present it to say, okay, these are some of the ideas, and then we get feedback, or I get feedback from the key stakeholders, which would be the GPM and other designers, and maybe other PMs as well. And then once I get that back, that this might not be done in a day, it might be split across days, but once that is done, I then come back to then take a second stab at the designs to say, okay, based on this direction we want to go and this feedback that has been given, how can I then improve what I have? And then in the process of this, I work with, because my company is a big company, so we have an existing design system. So I'm working using my design system to design, but then sometimes the design system doesn't cater for all the cases because there are sometimes unique cases. So I fix a meeting with the design system team to say, or to get like a review to say, okay, this is what I'm using. Should I be using something different, or what you think? And then I get feedback from them. Also, we have a content team that focuses on UX and like writing. So if I have like copies involved in some of the changes or the features that I'm building out, I need to go to them to say, okay, this is what I put as an interim copy, but what do you think? These are the problems we're trying to solve with copy. These are the constraints. We can't go past so and so characters, and I get feedback from them, put it back together, go for another round of reviews as well. And then sometimes I might not be the only designer on the project. So if I'm working with other designers on the project, then we, at the time where we scope out the timeline, we might say, okay, you work on this portion and I will work on this portion. And then of course I need to involve my UX manager to let her know at every point in time what problems or challenges that I might be having, and then lean on her or the team to help me solve those problems. So yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, well, that kind of like sum it up. If you're watching this, don't be scared. It sounds like there's a lot going on, and but I think as long as you enjoy what you're doing, it would just be like great, like not smooth, I'll say great, because you appreciate like every moment. And as a designer, I think over time you get comfortable with feedback. You get comfortable with people like looking into what you're doing and just giving you opinion of what they think. It might be scary at first, but that's the thing. And most of the time, like she explained, it's not just designing, it's literally like talking to this and setting up meeting and setting up like reviews, which is very interesting. Like that's part of the job. And it comes to like everything goes back into your design because you need to do all of that to actually like produce something great. So we're gonna get to the last question of this, and this is the juicy one. How much do you do UI UX designer earn, especially like for someone starting up, like a less than, okay, I think it would be good maybe if you can give example like less than a year experience, or like a year to 3 years, or and 3 years and above. Just like give us rough estimates so everyone can know if it's worth their time, and they should, because everybody want to go into tech. I'm sorry, the money is part of it, so we're not going to
Yeah.
leave that out.
So I would say that an important thing, that's like a really important question to ask, is how much will I get paid? So because money makes the world go around, to be honest. Yes, you have to be passionate about your work, but if your work doesn't pay you well, then it's burn out easily. So I would say that working as a UI UX designer is pretty rewarding. It depends on where you live and the skill set you have. So sometimes when you're not negotiating, it now depends on what you're bringing to the table, which is why as a UI UX designer, whether you're starting out, you need to put your best fit forward. Sometimes we have this thing where we feel like we're not good enough. But if you look out, like if you look within, you would see that some of the things that you look down on, people are looking for those skill sets. So yeah, it's important to put that out. But yeah, back to the money matter. So it depends on where you live. So for here in Canada, you can get people starting off, like if you're starting off within design, you can get from say 54K to 70. Actually, from 54 to 70 would be the range, but also it depends on the province. So if you want to find like the fine details of what you need, go to Glassdoor. Glassdoor will give you the information of the company. So the company also matters. Where you're located and the company matters. But the summary of this is it is pretty rewarding compared to what you would earn like in some other roles at the same level. You would definitely get way more than what you would get for a typical job that is a non-tech role. So yeah.
I think, to be honest, 54 and upward is a good start for someone getting into UX design and without so much experience and just starting out. I think it's great. And this is one of the reasons I'm like, yes, apart from that, even apart from the money that you say, most of the jobs are like remote, or companies are quite flexible. So that's like another advantage you have when you're working as a UX designer, which is great. And for example, I know when I started, I was like, what? I can earn this much? Like, okay, I need to put my head down and really learn. So yeah, that's really interesting. And one point I'm going to touch is a good thing that you said, negotiating, right? I think that's very important, especially as women. We sometimes tend not to ask for more because we're just like, okay, yeah, I don't want to ask for more, or we're too shy. We're not comfortable with that. And that's one thing men do like really well, effortlessly, in fact. Like they will keep pushing and pushing, like, no, this is how much I'm going to ask for. And most of the time they get it. So I'll say, ask for more if you can, and you think that the company can definitely put that like amount for you. I say definitely ask for more. I think this we've come to the end of this video. Um, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your time. Thank you for all the knowledge. Where can people connect with you? The Instagram or LinkedIn? I'm gonna leave your channel link below so people can follow you.
So yeah, you can Miriam's already going to leave my link for my YouTube channel, so you can follow me there. And also, if you go there, you'll see the link to my Instagram. I'm not sure I have my LinkedIn, but you can find me. My name is GraceMary Oisamoje on LinkedIn and all social media platforms, Twitter as well. So please reach out to me if you need any help. And I also mentor people on ADP lists. So if you're looking to do like you just want to have a chat about starting out, or you started out and you have you just want to talk to someone, then reach out to me. I'm available for a chat on ADP lists.
Okay, great. Before we end, I remember at the beginning I said we have something for you at the end. So this video doesn't end here. We actually filmed another set of questions on Grace's channel. So I'm going to leave that link below as well. And I'll probably link it up like somewhere in the corner so you can go and watch that. We even went deep into more questions, so which are going to be helpful for you if you're looking to get into UX design. So that's the end of this video today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.